this episode of Into Your Head number 686, overcoming monkey nut related vomiting illnesses, naming TV doctors, a song about holocaust deniers, serving feces in bars, learning through Latin, recognising Dry May by his language, and lots more. I've always been a great believer in the dictum quod ette demonstrandum, which you're of course aware, unless you never studied secondary school maths at higher level, means which was to be shown, or which was to be proved. It's Latin, but one exception we make to the idea of English being the main language here is when we're doing maths theorems, and they'll say, please prove that this triangle is an isosceles. And then you prove it. You write down all stuff that proves it mathematically, and then you go QED, quod ette demonstrandum, and then you move on from Mr. Nesbitt's class to a normal maths teacher, and you put QED at the bottom of something, and he says, what the fuck does that mean? And you say, it's Latin, it means something, 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 and you're supposed to put it at the bottom of everything. And the maths teacher says, oh, I see. He doesn't see at all. He doesn't see at all why people are being. That's what happens if you have an 892-year-old maths teacher for a couple of years. Not that there's anything wrong with that. 892-year-old maths teachers are no less qualified to teach maths than anyone else. It's just that they insist on doing it through Latin. I didn't even do Latin in school as a subject. I think you can in some places. Some of the more upmarket private schools teach Latin. They say, come in here, I'm going to teach you some Latin. I'm going to teach you through English, because when you're learning a language, you have to have a base language to start with, unless of course you're a 6-month-old child, in which case you don't have a base language. You have to learn a first language, you have to learn a base language to start with, and then you can learn everything else through that. They have a new thing here where you can go to a school that teaches everything through the Irish language, and it's supposed to be good for you. It helps you learn maths learning skills or something. If you learn it through the Irish language, for some reason, learning maths through a different language than your home tongue helps with I don't understand the theory. I probably would if I researched it further. I can't be bothered. I'm not a frigging teacher, but as it happens, my wife is. So I hear 10% of what she tells me about these things, and I basically put a summary of everything into my head and say, if I need to know more, I have a resource here in the house where I can find out more from it. But no, I just store headlines of what she tells me about this stuff. That's the way. That's how you manage memory. You learn stuff, here's some useful information that might be useful in the future. I don't need to learn a whole just yet, so I'll just store a headline. That's why people like to criticise the media for that. They say, they're just going for a headline. They're just going for a snapshot quote. Well, that's the way to do it. What the freaking hell do you want the headline to have 3 paragraphs in it? I saw someone yesterday having a go at the BBC for not explaining something in their headline that was in the second line of the I'm getting bogged down in things now. This is of no interest to my listeners. Are not interested in real stuff like this. They're interested in crap. Walk into a bar. One of the pieces of crap goes straight up to the bar counter and says, hello, can I have a pint of your finest Guinness, please? And the man behind the bar says, certainly, young man, a pint of our Wait a minute, you're a piece of crap. And the piece of crap says, I didn't realise I was going to be judged. I hear that song on the theme tune to the situation comedy Cheers, and it says, you go into these places and everyone knows your name and they're always glad you came. There's nothing about being referred to as a piece of crap, although I am a piece of crap. I have to admit, there's nothing but the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But this isn't a frigging court of law, and you're not not being sworn in. You're being asked to serve me up a pint of your finest Guinness, or any bog standard Guinness. I just said a pint of your finest Guinness just because it sounds good. It sounds majestic and popular, traditional, popular-y, not like these modern nightclubs that the kids go into and they say, oh, can I have a pint bottle of cider with half a gallon of ice in it, and a thing with a worm in it, some sort of a drink with a worm in it. That's what the kids drink now. Is it tequila? I think it's tequila. There's a new beer out now that has tequila in it or something, or the taste of tequila or something. They say, oh, it's something beer, something tequila, and it's cool. Here you are, kids. It's €8.79 for a tequila-sized. There's the thing with these. They'll probably serve it in little tequila-sized glasses. They say, do you want a shot of beer? I do not want a shot of beer. I want a pint of beer. A pint of your finest Guinness, which isn't beer, it's stout. Well, that's not the point. And the man behind the bar says, you're damn right, that's not the point. I haven't pulled a pint yet. It takes a while to pull a pint of Guinness. But I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm not used to, I have to admit, since the whole big Celtic tiger boom here, there's been a lot of changes in society. Until 15 years ago, we didn't have all these foreigners living here. And until today, I never had a walking, talking piece of shit come into my bar and ask for a drink. But everyone's welcome here. We don't discriminate. You're more than welcome here, and I do apologise again. I'm only human, I'm afraid. Unlike you, you're a piece of shit. I'm a human. I have limitations based on my humanity. You don't have any limitations because you're a piece of shit. And the piece of shit says, oh, thank you very much indeed, young man. I hope we can put this behind us. And the man behind the bar says, well, you're often put behind people. That's how you're created. And the piece of shit says, that's not funny. And the man behind the bar says, it's not supposed to be. There's more to life than cracking jokes, you know. There's more. Not everything has to be funny. People think you do. You see these people in the media, they can't go through 5 seconds of a news report without cracking some joke or saying, oh, it's nice and wet out there. I hope you bring a brolly. Ho, ho, ho. A serious weather forecast is there to save people's lives by warning them about the weather conditions, and they're cracking little jokes about bringing an umbrella. Jesus Christ. And the piece of shit says, I suppose so. How are we going with that pint of Guinness there? And the man behind the bar says, oh, it's 4/5 full. We're at the part where you leave it for a while and I'll come back to it. I'll go and pull someone else's pint of lager that takes 3 seconds. Then I'll come back to this and I'll have a look at it and we'll see then how it's going. And the piece of shit says, this is why I don't buy Guinness normally. It takes too fucking long. And the man behind the bar says, I understand. But patience is a virtue and it's also rewarding. Your reward is a nice pint of my finest Guinness. And the piece of shit says, oh, so you are giving me your finest Guinness then? And the man behind the bar says, no, it's just a saying. Makes it sound majestic and traditional, popular-y. And the piece of shit says, oh, okay, as long as it's not substandard, I suppose. That's okay. And the man behind the bar says, well, I can't guarantee that, but if there's a problem with it when you taste it, just let me know and I'll be happy to change it, which I suppose technically is a guarantee. So I can guarantee that. I just can't promise you that this piece of pint of Guinness will be perfect, but if it's not, I'll make amends. And the piece of shit says, oh, that's very good. I'm very impressed with this place, I must say. And the man behind the bar says, me too, although I'm biased, I suppose, because I own the place. Well, I don't own the place, it's mortgaged to the hilt, but you know what I mean. Legally I own it. It's just a lien on it by some bank, some piece of shit no offence, with some piece of shit bank that's being bought out by the government. And the piece of shit says, oh, none taken. And a great night is had by all. It's time to deal with some listener correspondence. I can be corresponded with via email, electronic mail. You get out your computer and you open it up, and you open up your mail program, and you type into the to field, you type studio into yourhead.com, and then you go down to the text field and you say hello Neil or Neil or Neil, spelt Neal, and then you make your point, and then you sign it off and you send it off to me, and I have a look at it, and if I'm in the mood at some point I'll deal with it, and if I'm not I won't, or I'll put it away till I'm in the mood to deal with it. Anyway, have an ongoing list of topics sent by Jerry, and he says, here's the third one on the list. It's illegal to drink beer out of a bucket while you're sitting on the curb in St. Louis. Now, St. Louis is a place. It's a place in America. Let's have a look at this. I don't know much about it myself, but I believe it's a place. St. Louis, is that one of those places where they all go and they, no, it's not the place that they rained and it's destroyed now, and they had the, is that a different place? I don't know. Hold on a minute. It's an independent city on the eastern border of Missouri. I guess I'm all supposed to know what Missouri is. Oh yeah, I know Missouri. I see it every day when I look out my window. I say, there's Missouri over there somewhere. Probably is technically over there somewhere. I think my window faces west, so it's probably over there somewhere, just another 5,000 miles or so over there past the field where they have the ploughing championships, and then on for another 5,000 years. But because of the curvature of the earth, if I point over there, I'm technically pointing out into space. I'm probably pointing at some asteroid billions of light years away that's going to destroy us all in a couple of 100 years. But don't blame me. Don't shoot the accidental messenger. Don't even shoot the intentional messenger. He's just doing his job. Although some would argue that if you see something that's about to destroy the earth, your job is to keep quiet about it and not disturb the peace, because it's against the law. Disturbing the peace is a crime. You can get put in jail for that. They can say, oh, you disturbed the peace, off to prison, you must go. My fair lady, off to prison you must. That's a song my mentally disabled brother learned in special school when he was about 5. They were great at learning songs there. What was the other one they learned? I like the man who owns the shop. He gives me sweets and lollipops. So thank you, God, for all the people. Mother of Fair Love School in Kilkenny City, if I remember rightly. Anyway, St. Louis. There it is. That's that arch thing. I saw that arch thing in a picture the other day, and I was wondering what city it was. Turns out that's St. Louis. St. Louis is more advanced than I thought. That's nearly as cool as that space age tower thing with the stadium beside it in Toronto, which I've been to. I've been to that whole thing in Toronto. I've been up in it. I stood looking at the supposedly elephant-proof glass floor, looking down on the city hundreds of stories below, and I said, fuck this, I'm not standing on that. I'm not a freaking moron. No, I won't stand on a thing like that unless you're wearing a parachute and know how to use it. But no, you can go up in the thing, the CN Tower in Toronto. You can walk onto reinforced glass and look down on the city below you, half a mile below you, and think, Christ, I'm going to puke now, which will probably help, because if you puke, the glass will get dirty and you won't be able to look out it, and that will help with the vertigo thing, or wherever it is. Here's a thing. St. Louis, what was the question again? It's illegal to drink out of a beer bucket while you're sitting on the curb in St. Louis. Technically, it's not a question, it's a seed for discussion. And thank you very much for that, Jerry. I've got, what have I got? 4 minutes and 30 seconds out of it already. Or did I, wait a minute, did I start that at the beginning of this segment, or did I move to halfway through? I can't remember. Either way, it's certainly a seed. It's been a seed for debate, and it probably will be for many years to come. A year from now, I'll still be dealing with listener correspondence about St. Louis, because I'm pretty sure I haven't dealt with it fully here. I've probably opened up more questions questions than I've answered here. Well, that's because I wasn't asked a question. I don't know. Oh, apparently it was the home of the 1904 Summer Olympics and the Louisiana Purchase Exposition the same year. Oh, Louisiana Purchase, isn't that the thing where, I don't know the exact history of the United States, but wasn't there something where you decided, oh, there's St. Louis, let's just buy it, or something like that happened? I don't know. Of course, that's back before the property boom. If you were to go out and buy St. Louis now, you'd have to freaking pay for it. You'd have to take out your wallet and hand it over, and you'd be charged property tax because it's already part of the United States. So you'd have to pay whatever taxes are due. Anyway, on with the show.
Lockjaw, the podcast junkie here, and you are listening to Into Your Head, all the way from Ireland.
Need more? Subscribe to the free reruns and extras feed and shut your stupid ugly face. See intoyourhead.com/archive for details.
Remember, we value the opinions of you, the humble and ignorant listener. Email studio@intoyourhead.com.
Follow Neil at twitter.com/intoyourheadpod and pretend to like him at facebook.com/intoyourheadpodcast.
You are listening to Into Your Head, a listener-supported podcast. Please visit intoyourhead.com/tipjar.
Monkey nuts, that's what they call them. They call them big steaming, shit-eating, piss-piling, vomit-inducing, vomit non-inducing as well. Ironically, because there's something induces vomiting successfully and causes you to vomit, and then you vomit, then that gets rid of the need to vomit for the foreseeable future. So it's by inducing the vomit, it's then caused vomit to not be induced for at least the next several hours until you have another monkey nut. Although you may have become immune to them by then. Maybe if monkey nuts make you vomit, the way to get around it may be by eating so many monkey nuts that you become immune to them or you become tolerant to them. Now bear in mind that I'm not a doctor. This isn't the Dr. Drew show. No, it's not the Dr. Drew show. It's not the Dr. Phil television show. It's not the other fella who used to be on Oprah show. What's his name? Dr. Oz. A stupid name for a fucking doctor. If parents want their kids to become doctors, which they usually do, parents always want their kids to become doctors or solicitors or lawyers, all the rest of it. They want their doctor to become either Dr. Phil or Judge Judy. No, if you want your kid to become a doctor, give it a proper name. So if it goes, although I suppose Phil or Oz are good names for television doctors, but no, for a normal doctor, a so-called normal doctor. Remember back in the old days when normal doctors used to appear to you in the privacy of a doctor's surgery, not on the frigging O channel with Oprah. We have O channel. We don't have the O channel here, but we have TLC just launched last month, and they have all sorts of new age Oprah stuff on now. The new generation of Oprah channel stuff. One of which apparently is a behind the scenes documentary series looking at the Oprah show that ended a couple of years ago. It was a vicious circle where we're stuck in the past. Next they'll be doing a fly on the wall documentary about the Muppet Show, the original Muppet Show back in the 70s. They'll have a camera looking up Kermit's arse and saying, "Oh, look at this, it's Kermit's arse." Jim Henson's hand spent a lot of time up here. You weren't allowed to show it in those days, because in those days the show was being marketed at children, even though the original pilot for the Muppet Show was designed for adults. They decided, we're going to market this at children. We'll put it on. It'll be like the Flintstones except with puppets. We'll put it on in prime time, probably, and market it as a family program. We'll say this is for families. If you don't have a family, you probably won't be interested in it. But if you are, you will, because we'll hide little secret grown-up jokes in it that the children won't understand. Then we'll hide little childish jokes in it that the children won't appreciate because children don't have a sense of humour. You don't develop a sense of humour until you're in your early 20s. No, because there's something part of the brain isn't fully... Dr. Drew himself says there's something part of the brain, there's something cortex in males doesn't fully develop until you're in your 20s. Although I don't think he said anything about the sense of humour. He says it's something to do with basically... young men are complete gobshites until their mid-20s. But I would argue that part of being a gobshite is that you haven't a fully developed, sophisticated sense of humour yet. So I'm declaring hereby that young men don't have a proper sense of humour till their mid-20s, which would explain why most of my listeners are middle-aged men. Why don't I have any I do have middle-aged women now that I think about it, listening to this. Although you wouldn't say that to your face, to their faces. You wouldn't whoop them and say, "Oh, thank you for listening to the show." It's nice to know that I have some middle-aged women listening. No, I wouldn't dream of saying that to their faces, but you know who you are if you're listening. Anyway, funny you should mention two pieces of crap walking into a bar. Not you, the me of the past, who I've just been listening back to. I've been listening back to the me of the past talking about two pieces of crap walking into a bar, and while listening to that, I was trying to think of a title for today's show. While writing up to the show description, I thought, it'd be good if I could name it two pieces of eight, or pieces of eight, or pieces of eight crap. Because there's some sort of pirate saying where they supposedly say pieces of eight, or is it their parrot say or something? I don't understand the exact details, but the stereotypical version of pirates who I used to see in children's comics when I was a child would always say things like pieces of eight. So if I could tie that in somehow to pieces of crap, maybe that would work. Just by saying it on the show, by mentioning pieces of eight, that qualifies it to be used in the title, so that's that dealt with now. But I still haven't perfected the title. Will I call it pieces of eight, or pieces of eight crap? Pieces of eight crap. No. We'll worry about... pieces of eaten. Pieces of eight, as in A-T-E. Pieces of eight. Because eight stuff that you ate turns into crap. Would that work? Pieces of eight. Well, then new listeners will come across this and look at it and say, look, he's misspelt eight. He's a moron. I'm not listening to that. I'm going to be worrying about this for the next hour now. Or while I'm worrying about it, I may as well be... there's a tweet. Sad news. Greenpeace stops pesticide saving GMO BT egg planting Philippines. And then before that, I noticed Gamma Goblin from Cork saying something about Brian May being on the radio. I think so anyway. Brian May being the guitar player out of Queen, who's now obsessed with badgers. Now I'm not sure if he was on the radio or it was just a comment that reminded Gamma Goblin of Brian May. But apparently there was something on the radio with Miriam What's-Her-Face that caused him to make a comment about Brian May. Maybe he's just obsessed with Brian May, which is understandable. I was obsessed with Brian May in my teens. I was a Queen fan. I went around all day saying, Brian May this, Brian May that, Brian May the other. I would have been obsessed with Freddie Mercury, but he was dead. You can't be obsessed with dead people because you're considered weird. I was weird enough as a teenager already without going around obsessing over dead people. So I obsessed over who I consider to be the next in seniority in the remaining alive members of the band Queen. That would be Brian May. Now I know there are others who would argue with Roger Taylor was more senior, but how many of you have heard of Roger Taylor and how many of you have heard of Brian May? I'll try comparing 0 to 0 because you're all, wait a minute, you're all middle-aged. We already established that, so you've all heard of both of them, so that's fine. But not the Roger Taylor out of Duran Duran, no, the other one. Just because you've heard, if you're one of the people who say, I've heard of Roger Taylor, but then you go, no, the one out of Duran Duran, that doesn't count. You don't count. You don't count. Not that there's any necessity to count. You don't need to be counting. You don't need to know. You don't need to pass some sort of a frigging pop quiz to get in as a listener to this show. You just have to download it in iTunes and preferably rate and review it in iTunes as well. Two bridesmaids walk into a bar. One of the bridesmaids goes straight up to the bar counter and says, "Hello, can I have a pint of your finest Guinness, please?" And the man behind the bar says, "You're bridesmaid." And Brian May says, "Yes, but I don't see why that should preclude you from serving me a pint of Guinness like a normal human being." And the man behind the bar says, "But you're not a normal human being. You're Brian May. You're the fellow with the badgers, and the fellow who used to play the guitar carved out of the fireplace, and the fellow who used to be the most senior, still alive member of the band Queen." And Brian May says, "Indeed I am. Now can we move this along, please? I can't be spending 3 hours on every frigging transaction every time I go and order a pint of Guinness, because I'm planning to drink at least 18 tonight, and this will take a couple of hours out of my night if you have this on every occasion. Although there's 3 of us here, so I'll only be buying 1 out of every 3 rounds, so that's a bit less time, but still I don't want to spend. If you add up all the times I spend explaining myself throughout my life whenever I buy a pint of Guinness or anything else, that's a big chunk of life to be taken out of it. If someone told you that you'd spend 300 hours of your valuable life having a shit, then you'd say, "Oh, I have to spend less time doing this, I'll have to deal with that somehow." But no, if they tell you, "Oh, you're wasting 300 hours of that fella's life by pointing out that he's Brian May," that's considered perfectly acceptable. It's considered part of the job. They say it goes with the territory. You're a multi-millionaire. You should have to earn that in retrospect by having these little meaningless conversations. Well, I don't mean to be rude, but I'd like if we could cut down on that. And the man behind the bar says, "I'm pretty sure you're Brian May, our Queen." And Brian May, out of Queen, says, "I'm pretty sure I am too. Now can we move this along?" And the man behind the bar says, "Certainly, sir. Do you have any identification?" And Brian May says, "Are you fucking serious?" And the man behind the bar says, "Yes, I am. I don't believe you're Brian May, because Brian May wouldn't talk like that to a fan." And Brian May says, "You're absolutely right about that. I'm not Brian May." And the man behind the bar says, "Well then, thank you very much, Gamma Goblin, for inspiring this meaningless piece of crap, which you didn't even direct at me. I just happened to notice it a few minutes ago. What the freaking hell are you listening to anyway? Miriam O'Callaghan, is it? I must look into what she's doing later. Maybe I'll listen to her podcast, or maybe I won't, because I can't fucking stand her, the cunt. No offence to Miriam O'Callaghan, one of the finest broadcasters in this country. I just can't listen to the sound of her voice or anything she says ever anywhere. Now, I know what you're thinking there. You're thinking, this is getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. He's got a swearing Brian May, who turns out to be a Brian May denier, as in he denies that he's a Brian May. Does that make you a Brian May denier? I don't think so, because if you're a Holocaust denier, you're not denying that you're a Holocaust, but you're not a Holocaust. You're a Holocaust denier. You can't be a Holocaust and a Holocaust denier. The two are contradictory, only because Holocaust is not a person, it's a thing, and it's an event, and the Holocaust denier is a person, so you can't be. So if you're not a Holocaust, you can still be a Holocaust denier. The two aren't contradictory. I hope I'm making sense here. Probably doesn't matter whether I am or not. Does it really matter? You don't come here for accurate information about the concept of Holocaust deniers, or maybe you do, or maybe you don't, or maybe you do, or maybe you don't, or maybe you do, or maybe you do, or maybe you don't, maybe you will, or maybe you won't. I'm not a Holocaust denier explanation expert. No, I said that wrong. I'm not an expert in Holocaust deniers. I don't know very much about them. I don't know much about Holocausts. Don't know much about Holocaust deniers. Don't know much about history in general. Don't know much about the French I took. But I do know that the show's nearly over, and thank you very much for listening to it. Go and listen to the extras and reruns feed now, intoyourhead.com/extras. Don't know much about Holocaust deniers. But I do know that I've had too much coffee, and that this is if it's a fact, I'll tell you, we've come a long way in the past 5 years. I used to every day do a cat song on the harmonica. Now I'm doing this. Isn't it absolutely fantastic? We've moved with the times. Anyway, good morning.
Into your head.